The tragic link between Oklahoma City and New York City has become a healing connection between teenagers from two high schools in those cities. In a 90-minute teleconference, students from Southeast High in Oklahoma City hooked up with a group of kids from Stuyvesant High School in New York, just blocks from Ground Zero. And as the discussion ended, one student in Oklahoma closed the 1,300-mile gap between them with this final salute.
I'd just like to recognize you all as my personal heroes. I have a lot of respect for you and your attitudes. You're a beacon of light and an example of how Americans act. None of us will ever be the same. We will be better and we will be stronger. We will stand beside you and support you as we know you supported us on April 19th, 1995. Thank you and God bless you and God bless America.
Southeast High School senior Tyler Oldham is at school this morning. He's joined by Kevin Hopkins from the Grief Relief Network, who came up with the idea. And here in New York is Stuyvesant senior Juke Sue and Chris Plute from the group Global Nomads, who set up the link. Good morning to everybody.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
Kevin, let me start with you. Why did you come up with this idea?
I'm a doctor, and I trained in New York City. I'm from the New York area, and I was in Corpus Christi. And I had, when the towers went down, I felt I had to do something, so I drove up to New York, wound up at Ground Zero, and just was overwhelmed by the situation there. That I felt helpless. That there's nothing I could do. And I saw on the Today Show when I was up there, you had a woman, Diane Leonard, who lost a husband in the Oklahoma incident. And the take-home message for me was that she said that doctors and psychiatrists, everyone's wonderful, but the most benefit they got, she and survivors got, was by talking to someone else who'd go through a similar situation. Kind of light went off and go, boy, maybe we can connect people with video conferencing. That's how this kind of all came about.
That's right. And she talked about how someone who'd been affected by Pan Am Flight 103 had been so helpful to her healing. Juke, before we talk about, excuse me, the teleconference, describe what life was like at your high school on September 11th.
Well, the incident happened just on the start of second period, and when it happened, I was at the north side of the building in class, and all you could hear was like sirens and fire engines in the background, and we weren't really sure what was happening, but you could notice that something was happening. And then the principal went on the loudspeaker and told us what had happened. And the next class, I went across the building. You could see like the gaping hole in the World Trade Center, and everyone was just, horrified at what had happened.
You obviously were evacuated.
Yeah.
And you haven't been back to Stuyvesant since, right?
Right.
It's going to reopen, I understand, on Tuesday?
Hopefully it'll be open on Tuesday.
Where have you guys been going to school? Right
now we've been relocated to Brooklyn Tech High School.
So obviously you were right there and experienced the whole thing, which was it traumatic for you?
At certain times it was pretty scary, like when the building started to fall and then there was like a cloud of smoke rushing up, and when we were evacuating it was kind of hectic, but it was a pretty good procedure and everyone got out safely.
Tyler, let me ask you what you were hoping to do to help the kids in New York City by participating in this teleconference.
I just wanted the students in New York to realize that Americans, as well as the rest of the world, care about them, and that we're more than just an email address or donations. We're people. We're here to listen and to support them. And that's all we wanted to convey. We just wanted to convey our support.
Tyler, I know you were in elementary school when the Murrah Federal Building blew up. Do you remember that time in your life very well?
Yes, I do. I remember the class I was in. I was in second hour science class, and we just heard the explosion, and then a few minutes later they came over the intercom and the TV and told us what had happened. Much the same that they did in New York.
So what was your response when you heard about what had happened at the World Trade Center? Did you feel a sense of deja vu?
Yes, I did. I felt a lot of, it's almost like I didn't believe it,
that it could happen again. And then as the story came in, you feel shock and pain, but it was much the same feelings, only I'm older now and I can accept things better. I can work with things better, sort them out in my head. So I understood this event more, and I think it actually affected me more.
Juke, tell me if this was helpful to you, and if so, why, to talk to kids from Oklahoma City, and then you can tell me about the cultural differences you sort of noticed as well.
Right, I think it was very helpful. Like, all the students that on our side, there were, I think, 21 students from Stuyvesant High School that participated in this, and they all enjoyed it because, you got a chance to talk with people across the country and share, like, your experiences and their experiences, and just to see what they're going through, and, it's just a good exchange.
And you were mentioning that to me earlier, that you thought while New Yorkers sort of turned to volunteerism, that more kids in Oklahoma City turned toward their religion.
Right, that was just something that struck many of us during the video conference, that there was, like, sort of cultural differences, obviously, across the country. And in Oklahoma City, they seem to use religion. They seem to play a larger role in their lives as compared to here in New York City. And that was just something that we realized.
Although you conceded that probably a lot of kids, even in your high school, probably are turning to their faith as well, but maybe they're just a little less vocal about it.
Right.
Chris Plute, I know your organization is called Global Nomads. What struck you about the conversation these kids were having?
I think that just how they related with each other, I think that the students in New York, they kind of felt that maybe they didn't have, that they were kind of isolated, and to know that there were people in Oklahoma that really identified with them, I think really helped them. And I think that it was good for the Oklahoma kids as well to be able to help the kids here in New York.
And I know that, Juke, you've said that you'd be interested in participating in more teleconferences, perhaps with students from the Mideast.
Yeah, we think that this is a good experience, a good educational experience, that, we can exchange ideas from people all over the country, and people, in these Middle Eastern countries, where people from, a Muslim culture in, like, in Palestine or, Afghanistan or whatever, and just to see what they're thinking, because they obviously have a different perspective on the incidents that occurred and why they occurred. And the more education we have, the better we can prevent things like this from happening in the future.
And I know it was an interesting, wide-ranging discussion of the U.S. response and how to balance civil liberties with rooting out terrorists, and you all got a lot of things off your chest, and it was gave each other a lot of things to think about. Well, Juke Sue, Chris Plute in Oklahoma City, Tyler Oldham, and Dr. Kevin Hopkins, thank you all so much for talking with us this morning. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Next up, will there be a baby boom in our future? But first, these messages.